Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. Romans and I are both money guys, but we're also gamers, so we wanted to put this pod together to help gamers like us with some of their tough money topics that can sometimes feel as hard as a Souls boss.
We're talking budgeting, saving, paying off debt, and how to not fall for all the traps life throws at you.
Grab a health potion and let's start stacking gold IRL. This is DLC, a finance podcast for gamers. Welcome to Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. I'm Scruffy, this is Romans, and today we're going to be talking about the biggest leverage buyout in company history. Electronic Arts was purchased for $55 billion by a Saudi investment firm. So we're going to be talking all things, what we think about it, good news, bad news, what it means for the gaming industry as a whole. This is going to be a wild ride.
I cannot believe how much money I'm going to make on this deal. I didn't want to say anything, Scruffy, but I am a major investor.
Really?
No, absolutely not. I'm missing out on everything. Oh my God. I'm getting nothing out of this. The best we can get is 1 million views on this video. That's the best. We're not going to get any of the 55 billion. Did you say the dollar amount or did I just ruin it?
Yeah, no, $55 billion.
50 What? Not that, who cares about money like in the grand scheme of things, but hey, right now 55 billion? What the heck? Oh man. Hopefully it's good news for gamers and we'll talk about it, but I wanted to check in the last year how many billion-dollar transactions have there been? Cuz 55 billion is a
For
large
companies?
just in general, yeah. In the last year, how many billion-dollar company sales? Anyways, continue while I look this up.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about this, I don't know if we've ever seen a gaming company on this scale go from being a public company to complete private financing. So good news to all of you EA shareholders out there. A payout's coming your way, so that'll be nice. But this Saudi investment company is in the process of buying out Electronic Arts, and they're going to be going from a public video games company to completely privately held. The main company is a Saudi, like I said, Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, in a partnership with a couple other people. But it actually, interestingly enough, they were already a small shareholder. I say small, but they were just under a 10% shareholder of EA already, and then just were able to completely make this transaction to they own 100% and are going to have it delisted from the stock exchange.
So you failed to mention that part to me. I did not realize they are going fully private. That they
Yeah,
are completely
100% private.
Oh my God. No. No. You know what's interesting? I just looked it up. There are over 5,500 billion-dollar companies. Do you know where 34% of them are? In the United States of America, we have 1/3 of the entire planet's billion-dollar companies. And that's why, even though we are not a majority of the world's population, the US still controls the world, but we just let one go. And I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan of the way EA runs their company. I actually think they run it very interestingly. A couple $1 billion could make me change that opinion. Hello, EA. Just call me PIF. Hello, willing to sell out for a piece of that action. But I'm not a fan of the way EA is currently run. I'm very, very curious now that they're going to go privately owned if they can make smart decisions that actually result in good games. At the end of the day, as a gamer, I just want good games. I don't care if you're public or private, owned by the Saudis, owned by whoever. Obviously, I have my preferences, but hopefully the Saudis are the way they handle social things is getting more in line with what makes common sense, if not eternal sense. Wink, wink. But I can't believe they're private. That is, if you're not a financial guy and you don't really grasp what that means that any dollar they make, every time we buy Battlefield 6 and we buy it and we spend $70, $80, $90, some oil prince or whoever is these dudes who own this fund are receiving all of it. Like none of
Yeah.
it, you can't partake in it. So I own a couple tech stocks, which we'll save for another day. And so if someone paid $70, technically I would get 1% of that or whatever percent I got. Now all of it goes. So really, whatever you buy in EA from now on, it's Saudi Arabia's benefit, and whatever they decide
Mm-hmm.
to do with it, whatever, vote with your dollars. Whatever Saudi Arabia does with their money is their money. You buy Battlefield 6 for 70 grand, you're giving Saudi Arabia $70, and whatever happens, happens, and hopefully it's good things. You know, I hope so.
Yeah. It's interesting. So if you were an EA shareholder before this, you would have just made a bunch of money because the moment this was announced, EA announced that because it's going from a public company to a private company, they are giving a $210 per share buyout to every single shareholder, and the stock price immediately shot up to $210, an instant 25% return on your investment. So that's really interesting, and they're doing that so that they can acquire all the shares back so that they can then legally sell it to this Saudi investment firm. Which is this isn't like just some random Saudi company saying like, "Oh, I want to invest in video games." This is actually part of a very intentional plan by the Saudi Arabian private investment fund. Like I said, they already owned 10% of this before Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard. They own part of that. They own part of Nintendo. They own a what is it? Roughly a 4.5% stake in Take Two Interactive, and they're extremely active in the e-gaming scene. I was reading part of an article, I think from the Associated Press or someone like that, that was breaking it down, and they were saying that this specific investment fund it wants to make Saudi Arabia one of the premier destinations for esports and gaming events. So getting a big investment company, or not investment company, getting a big video game company like EA with some potentially competitive shooters. EA owns Apex Legends. Battlefield 6 is now coming out. That could definitely make things interesting on the esports side if they're trying to really make that a big part of their company and of the culture in Saudi Arabia. So it's going to be very interesting to see because they also, as part of the PIF, they have what's called Savvy Games Group, which is pretty aggressively promoting esports and different things like that within it. So it looks like this is part of a very coordinated effort to have Saudi Arabia be one of the destinations for esports.
I am shocked. And so I was looking at the top 50 biggest companies on the planet. And we in the US are number 1 with Walmart and Amazon. But right after that is all utilities and power. The fourth biggest
Mm,
company is actually oil and gas of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has the richest oil and gas company on the actual planet. Like that is after them it's China. So
mm.
it yeah. And then I don't know how United Healthcare did this, but United Healthcare is there, and then Apple's top 10. Uh, Microsoft, where are you? Nowhere to be found. And then there's a bunch of utility
Mm.
companies, Berkshire Hathaway, financial company, Google's on there, but it's mostly oil and gas, which is pretty nuts to me. And now we have video games. Uh, and I wanted to look up the annual revenue of EA. Do you happen to know that annual revenue?
I don't off the top of my head, but I can look that up.
I'm looking right now. It is, oh my gosh, we're so far away. Only $8 billion. Only 8 billion. Walmart makes
8
six.
billion.
Yeah, so check that out. That's 8 billion. Walmart makes 681 billion. So EA is 10% or 1%. Sorry, EA is 1% the size of Walmart,
Hmm.
and probably 1,000% the size of any one of us, if not a million times bigger than any of us. So very very interesting. Very
Yeah.
very
Yeah, that is interesting.
Shocking.
Yeah, which that's interesting because that means they paid about 7 times annual earnings for the company,
Hmm.
which is pretty aggressive when you're looking at like how a company sells.
They must have done the projection and did a payback window of 5 to 10 years or something like that. You know, the price of video games is skyrocketing. What a time to buy a company is right before the consumer confirms they're willing to pay $100 per video game. You get in there. So good on Saudi Arabia. Once again, the Saudis prove they are geniuses. They are not just oil princes, and they are absolute business people who know things that even the American church has no idea. You have the Saudis buying video games for the indefinite future, and it could have been the church who bought that, but here we are.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the fallout is going to be because there are some major game studios that are under the EA banner. Games like uh, Dice, major one. I believe Dice and Respawn have all the rights, and EA as a part of that, all the rights for the next 2 years for any Star Wars games. So that's a huge IP that can only be distributed through EA. Hazelight Studios is a major one, uh, talking about like probably the best studio for co-op games in existence right now. You have all the Madden, EA games. I don't really play those, but there are massive studios that produce major games every single year that fall under the EA banner. And it's going to be interesting to see. I read that the CEO, Andrew Wilson, is going to continue being the CEO of EA. So they're not replacing the CEO as of yet. And it looks like this transaction is not going to be finalized until the beginning of 2027. So it's going to be an ongoing process. But I'm interested to see how the operational side of the company changes because I'm pretty sure it will. You know you've built
Yeah,
and sold
no,
businesses, but
absolutely.
when someone
Yeah,
go ahead.
there's no way the CEO stays around. He has a post-transaction retainer. He must stay post close of this deal. I don't know how aggressive. So I don't know the Saudis at all. But if they were super aggressive, they're gonna put in a Saudi guy in there in 2 years. Once the deal is settled, the dust settles, and all the infrastructure is merged into whatever systems they want, we'll have a Saudi CEO, uh, and they'll continue crank the machines because clearly they know what they're doing. The fact that they were able to gather $55 billion together, and the thing that confuses me, and I've never delisted a company before, so I'm not how sure that works. But I don't know how you can force someone to buy back their equity. Like I don't know how you can force me if I own stock in EA, if you can somehow rip that out of my hands. That's a part
You
that,
can.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
You
part
need
that,
you
yeah.
it's
Hmm.
yeah, it's part of when IPOs are written, there's usually a part of whatever investment banking is writing the initial public offering for a company that stock buybacks are permitted. So you have stock buybacks. A lot of times, that's a very widely used strategy from a lot of companies when they have really good years to buy back stock to be able to inflate their stock prices. But you just have to give more than market price for the stock. So that's why, even though the stock was trading at 170, when they announced this, they said, okay, you all own stocks that are worth $170. We're going to give you $210 for every share of stock. Buy it back so that we can sell it to this investment fund. The other interesting thing about this is I mentioned it at the top of the episode. This is the largest leveraged fund because they are paying 360 million in equity immediately, or 360 billion, and 200, or not 200, 20 billion dollars is being financed through JP Morgan Bank, JP Morgan Chase. So think about that. Now, not only is EA being bought out by a foreign investment fund, but is now leveraged at $200 billion. Not 200. I keep saying that. $20 billion leveraged company. So they have a lot of debt on the company now. And I don't know what the terms of that debt are. That probably won't be announced until we get much, much closer to the actual purchase date when this transaction will go through, if it's announced at all. Um, that's one of the interesting things about this is because it's going private, all of the public information about the games, profits, and all of that stuff is now behind a wall. Before you, all of this information was public. Now that it's a private company, they don't have to share all this information.
They don't have to say anything. Their year
Yeah.
end is May of each year. I'm looking at last year's report because I do enjoy looking at this. So I'm looking at last year's annual report, and this is the end. This is the last one. I guess maybe they'll do one more. You said it takes a couple years to close, so they'll do one more in 26.
Yeah, it says that the fiscal 2027 is closing in Q1. So it looks like that's probably when the transaction will take place, Q1 of 2027. So there will most likely be another annual report, another 10K coming out, and earnings announcement coming out in May next year.
It really shows you that EA isn't even a good investment. I'm looking at this chart in their own 10K. 10K is their annual report. Not for you, Scruffy, for everyone listening. And they perform so poorly against the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, and the technology composite, which is what they'd be considered of. They
Hmm.
like imagine everyone there was around 200 a share. They're at 100. So EA
Eat.
has been blowing wind for the past 6 years. For the past 6 years, EA has underperformed its entire brethren, the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, by 50% for 6 years, and somehow it still closed at $55 billion. So that means if it did perform, it could have closed this thing at 110. A much larger number. It's
Yeah.
very funny. So they maybe Saudis know something. They bought it at the low. I could see the Saudis saying we got this at a discount.
Yeah.
Because EA has been woke and broke for years now. So it makes total sense. Like, yeah, they've been playing the stupid game, and they've also been monetizing. They've just basically done everything. I could see the Saudis doing everything right just because EA has been doing everything wrong for so long, and their
Yeah.
value and everything has been dying off. That Saudis like these guys have no idea the value if they would just do business the way they should do it and actually give the consumer what they want and not what we're trying to push on them.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all their numbers now.
They definitely just bought the company with the manual of what not to do with a video game company. I certainly have not had the most favorable image of EA ever since what game I was super, super excited for. Star Wars Battlefront 2 was coming out. I loved the original Star Wars Battlefront games. I still to this day have an original Xbox, so I
Hmm.
can play Star Wars Battlefront 1 and Star Wars Battlefront 2 on controller. So much fun. I absolutely love those games. But Star Wars Battlefront 1 was pretty good. And then they were had all these plans for Star Wars Battlefront 2. I was so excited for what it could be. And then when it released, everything was behind a paywall. And every part of like the characters, you had these cards that I don't know if you ever played the game Romans, but
I
did
have.
you ever play Star Wars Battlefront 2?
I've not only played it, I played it with my son, and
Oh my gosh.
I've played it in the last 90 days.
So I have heard that recently it's a lot better because they removed some of the paywalls. But
Yes,
for the
all paywalls
first
are
two
gone.
years,
Yeah.
yeah, but for the first 2 years, like in order to play a class that you wanted, you couldn't even play the right class you wanted because you wouldn't in the loot crate, you didn't get the cards that were for this one ability that you wanted for like the reason to play the heavy class was so you could get the big rotary gun, stand in a hallway and mow all these droids down. But oh, sorry, you only had a 1-star card, so you can't actually really do the damage. But if you buy all these loot crates, maybe you'll be able to level up your card to the max and you can actually play the game the way you want to. And it was the same for every single class. Like you could get some game credit through just like actually playing the game. But I remember when the game first came out, someone did the math on how much money it would take on average to actually get everything in the game so that you had everything leveled up when the game released. And it was something, I forget what it was because this was years and years ago, but it was something like $1,100 to
Nice.
level up everything to be able to play your $60 game that you just bought and were excited for. $1,100.
Well, I think it helps to understand what you're saying is when you're fighting someone else who does have the cards, they have a 20% or more buff against you. And so,
Mm-hmm.
especially, and it could be even higher if you go across all the cards. Because even today, if you play the heroes versus heroes stuff, because
Oh
me and my son
gosh.
haven't been playing it that
Yeah.
long, and we're starting at, and when you're fighting someone with purple cards, and
Yep.
you either have no cards, no abilities, or just the base gray card, it's
Yeah.
night and day. They're dancing all around you, flying all over the place, and there's no skill. It's already sad when you'd encounter a Jedi. If you're a basic soldier and you encounter a Jedi, you're toast. There's nothing. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's a good game. EA just they squeezed the absolute money out of it. I'm looking at their financials, and this is as of March 2025. So I haven't seen. Obviously, I'm not going to look at the last 10Q and see what the last quarter looked at. But these dudes are completely like are running on fumes. EA's
Hmm.
balance sheet has 2 billion in cash, which is a good thing. You're like, "Oh my gosh, 2 billion in cash? What are you guys are knuckleheads. That's a lot of money." Yes, but they have 2 billion in prepaid revenue, meaning
Oof.
they have the
Pre-orders.
pre-orders. They have pre-orders of 2 billion dollars and that's all the cash they have. So they are completely running on the future. So EA and they had 1.4 billion in accounts payable, meaning they have bills to pay. So they have outstanding bills. So if you just think about it, you have 2 billion in cash, you owe someone 1.4, so really you only have 600 million available. Of the 600 million available, 2 billion of that is for future revenue you haven't earned yet. Like in theory you have not done what it takes. So the 600 you have, it's somebody else's money. It's not even your money. In theory, if all the EA people, all the gamers of the world canceled their pre-order, we could bankrupt EA. That would be so funny. Everybody who hears this podcast, who has a pre-order, cancel it on October 31st. Let's give them a little trick. And you will see a company instantly fold. You'll see this deal collapse. You will see $55 billion vaporize. Chase Morgan will run for the hills. The Saudis will be like, never mind. There's another company we'll buy. That's just the first of 30 anyways. We weren't really serious. Sorry, EA. We could do an aggressive coup that would just reverse it. And it would be so, for the memes alone, it would be so funny.
Yeah.
But it's not just pre-orders. It's folks who've paid. Like, imagine there's some game. I don't know if they have what live service game, but you can buy the whole year. So you can buy the whole year. Like if I don't know, not World of Warcraft. Who Blizzard owns World of Warcraft. I don't think
Yeah.
they don't own.
Well, EA is Apex Legends. So all the battle
Okay.
passes and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So imagine you bought a battle pass that's supposed to be for the next 6 months. It's supposed to be the next 6 months. So you probably can't get your money back. So they probably can't. We probably can't pull off the coup, but it would be super funny if we did. You would see them absolutely freak out. It would be so funny. Uh,
And I'm so fascinated that they're doing so poorly. I mean, it makes sense because most people hate EA right now, but they put out a Madden, a FIFA game every single year. And I know the people that play those games, they literally buy it as soon as it comes out every single year for an update of players on different teams and numbers changing and some rookies coming in. It's the same exact game every single year. And even with an audience like that, you're underperforming everyone in your industry. Not to mention, like, you have major IP, Star Wars games, the Jedi games that I played and enjoyed in spite of them being EA games, because Respawn actually did a good job with some of the stuff. But my goodness,
Well,
can you imagine how they would have done if they had actually stewarded this well?
yeah. Well, the value of all the IP you just said is $5 billion. I can see it on the balance sheet. The value of Star
Mm,
Wars, all the IP you just said, all the sports, and I'll tell you, I think what Saudi's doing, if I could put on my future telling hat, no one else will see this. The church doesn't see it. The church is blind to all of this. They don't think gaming even matters. Fools, fools, all of them. But goodwill. I mean, Saudis have bought the sports of the future. Everything you
mm,
just mentioned is just sports that they will own into the future. All the Madden brands and all the FIFA soccers and all that, they own the future of sports. So what what Saudis have done is they've bought the future. The future. They literally bought the future at $55 billion, and only us gamers know it, but the world will see it. And yeah, so the value of all those things is $5 billion, and their annual income, they're actually profitable, which actually makes sense. They, as of the end of the last fiscal year, they were profitable by $1 billion. So they made after they paid everybody off, all the commissions, all the sales, marketing, everything. They generated 8 billion, and they kept one of it.
mm.
So one out of every dollar you spend on EA is profitable. So that tells me the game should be about almost 90% off. Oh, wait, did I say that right? Or their margin is 10%. So if they cut the price of a game by 10 to 20%, there's no margin for EA right now. Their margins are really
Mm.
tight. Which, who knows? I'm looking at the budget. They spend 3 billion on R&D. So all the games. So they have 3 billion. So if we take about, let's look at it another way. They spend 3 billion on R&D. They spend 200 million for every AAA game. That's a lot of experiments you can do. If it takes you 200 million over 6 to 7 years, and you have 3 billion to do that every year, EA could have so many games. That's 15 games a year that
Yeesh.
they could be launching and experimenting. So they could fail 15 times a year and still be a profitable company based on what I'm seeing. That's a lot of room
Hmm.
for error. That's a lot, especially when you have tried and true formulas that do work.
Yeah.
You gotta be a real bonehead to screw this up. Like EA really,
Which,
yeah, go for it.
man, they haven't done anything really creative in and of themselves, at least. They own some really creative studios like Hazelight that do some really innovative stuff, make very, very good games. But I can't remember the time that an EA specific game, like I like Hazelight, I like that studio a lot. I didn't even realize it was owned by EA until we were preparing for this episode. You said something about It Takes Two, and I'm like, oh, that's Hazelight, that's not EA. And then I realized EA owns them, and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure how to feel about that because I like Hazelight games, but I hate EA, so that's interesting.
Oh,
But yeah, I
can't.
think you
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, you can't say that anymore. You don't hate the Saudis, do you?
Well, I never said this out. They don't own it yet. They don't own it yet.
But now if you do, you hate the Saudis. Careful, careful, buddy. These guys make people disappear. You better relax. This is the EA is a bunch of pushovers, a bunch of little babies. These the dudes buying it. Their men own this
They do
company
have
again.
power. Yeah.
They're willing to do stuff to make things happen. Not a bunch of
I did, it's funny. I did go to
chickens.
school. At the university I went to, there was a Saudi prince that also went to the same school, and the cars he drove, man, were insane. I remember multiple times seeing him in a G-Wagon, a Ferrari, and a McLaren at different times. I'm pretty sure he probably had a Porsche too because there was a couple Porsches on campus, and I think one of them was probably his.
To be an oil prince. The grass is
Going
always
to
greener.
school. Going to school.
Yeah. What did he drive to go to the grocery store?
Probably the G Wagon.
Yeah. Well, that this is some crazy news. This is earth shattering. I hope folks pay attention to gaming more. That You can sell a company that just started in the early 90s. So what is it, less than 30 years old? You can sell
Yeah.
a 30-year-old company, maybe 35-year-old company for $55 billion. That you know, folks, the older folks thinks gaming is for kids. Is $55 billion kids money? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because gaming every single year has just been increasing and increasing in its revenue. And I think putting on my financial advisor hat for a little bit, gamers know what game studios do are going to do well and are going to continue to do well. So I'm not going to say their name, but I do know of someone who saw what AMD and Nvidia were doing with chips and GPUs and put a lot of money in them as like things were starting to spike and they were really starting to make some progress in the production of GPUs for PCs and gaming PCs specifically. And they made a ton of money and were able to afford some pretty big purchases because of that. So if you know of a game studio or gaming company that's doing really, really well, take a chance, put some money in there. You know what's going to stay around. Gaming is not going anywhere. In fact, every single year it's growing and growing and growing.
I
If
think
you go ahead.
I think the Saudis know what they're doing with their money. I don't know if they know anything
Yeah.
about gaming, but they know how to invest and buy. They bought the Olympics for the next 12 years will be in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. They've bought WWE. Basically the Saudis are buying everything I love. Maybe I'm Saudi. Maybe I'm an oil prince. Hey, Saudi, can I join? Like I feel like we have all the same interests. But they're buying everything I love, right? And I can only imagine there has to be some level of intelligence behind it. But yeah. So to your point, maybe we should buy the stock. I'll tell you though, I know quite a few people that won't come to America because they think it's scary, dangerous. How I feel about how some people feel about America is how I feel about the Middle East. Now, Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
I think, is a little bit nicer than other countries around them, but that's like going into. It's basically tough. Yeah, these dudes are blowing each other up every other week, and I don't see Saudi Arabia as a safe place to be. So I think it's a tough place for me to invest my money in. But I don't invest in Saudi Arabia out of fear. And I think people who
Hmm.
know better are gonna make hand over fist. But I don't know anything about Saudi Arabia, but I know their neighbors around them will do nothing more than to blow each other up, including Saudis. I think just recently, not to get political on this podcast, but I think Saudi, for the first time in a long time, actually just got attacked by accident or on purpose. I don't know what it was, but like some rockets flew over, and they're like, "What the heck? Who the heck's attacking us?" And 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 these guys now own everything I love in entertainment, so it's good on them. But I can't invest in Saudi Arabia because I don't trust their
Yeah.
neighbors, and I don't really know them very well either. So ignorance. I'll invest in what I know, and what I know is
Yeah.
Walmart's still number one. So I'm gonna invest my money in that Walmart stock because it's the most billion-dollar company in the whole planet, which I'm very surprised by. I don't know how Walmart beats China or India just based on number of customers. I'm not sure. It must be a
Yeah.
per human
Or even
capita.
Amazon.
Oh yeah, yeah, true, true.
That's interesting. Yeah. Would not invest in any of those companies, but that's my personally what I do with biblically responsible investing. I'm very particular where I will put my money, but yeah, won't invest in any of those companies because of what they support. So,
Yeah.
but back to what I was saying before, gamers will, where there's progress being made in the gaming industry way better than someone in a 100-foot suite apartment at some office building in New York City knows. So put that knowledge to use. Invest some of your money in gaming companies, hardware companies that you know are making a difference in gaming because gaming's not going anywhere. And you can actually take advantage of some of the knowledge you have there and make yourself some money. Because
Absolutely.
obviously there's a lot of money here to be made.
Battlefield 6 is going to make a ton of money. I should have bought EA stock before all of this happened, but I didn't know DICE was owned by EA. I thought DICE was owned. I think that's the thing I'm learning. Every studio that I actually like, I probably should find out who owns them. DICE probably sold out to EA probably 8 years ago, and I didn't even notice. Um, And I should have, to your point, I should have bought Dice stock, which actually, I don't know if I would have done it because I don't trust EA with a hill of beans. So all EA does is they see a good game and they figure out how to squeeze the life out of the gamer to even
Yeah.
taste that game. So like, why would I ever buy it? But here's Saudi Arabia to the rescue. Maybe. Well, I'll check back. We should do an episode 2 years from now, after the deal closes
Yeah.
and we see what's going on. If the deal closes in 2 years, usually there's a 2 years after that period, so it's 4 years. So the management staff
Yeah.
may not change for 4 years from today, which at that point, 2029, is the world even around anymore? It almost ended a couple weeks ago, according to what, TikTok or somebody. So
I forget.
yeah,
Someone told me I was getting raptured, and then I didn't. So that's
yeah.
yeah.
No, we gotta find some rocks for those guys. Gotta deliver it. We're all right. Let's wrap this baby up. Where are we on this thing?
Yeah, just kind of at the end. I think to your point, I think there is actually some hope with this because we both don't trust EA for any of this IP that they have or any to really make any major innovations. They don't listen to their customers very obviously, or if they do, it takes them years. I mean, how old is Battlefront 2? It's like what, a 5, 7 year old game, something like
Way
that.
more than that. Battlefield?
Star Wars
Oh,
Battlefront.
so Battlefront, Battlefield.
Battlefront
Okay, yes,
2.
yes, correct, correct,
That
correct.
was like 2017, 2018, right?
Hmm.
And just a couple years ago is when they started making it free to play. After they had made money on it for however many years. Like, hopefully, this investment group can actually listen to the players. And if their mission really is to make e gaming and esports a thing for Saudi Arabia, they need to actually have people that want to play these games. So hopefully that'll be good for us and they'll start making better games. But
Well,
I don't know. I'm still skeptical, but we'll see.
EA has 15,000 employees. So Saudi Arabia can make whatever stinking game they want to make. You want to make a game about drilling for oil? You have 15,000 employees to make the most amazing oil drilling game the world had ever seen. You'll be able to taste that oil when you play that game. Yeah, so I'll tell you this though: if EA did their job right, this sale would have never happened. The
Yeah.
the reason why these sales
Oh
are
yeah.
happening is because they mismanaged it so hard. They're seeing a quick exit. You're telling me we can sell our company for $55 billion? Our company that's really only makes about 1 billion a year? We're selling it for 55 years. Basically, what the ownership did is they sold it for their death, right? They sold it so that they could die rich. Like, I'm probably not going to be around 55 years. Well, you could sell your company now, and the money you'd make for the next 55 years, you can have it today. And that's because Saudi Arabia knows they're going to own gaming for the next 1,000 years until the Lord returns, whichever comes first, which wasn't last week. So, uh, yeah, great find, Scruffy, on this article. Very shocking. Uh, good on the Saudis. Just please make good games. Bare minimum,
Yeah.
make good games. High minimum,
Yeah.
uh, find Jesus if you don't know him already.
That'd be
Like,
great.
yeah, and then also make great games. You do those two things,
Both.
Saudi guys, I'll invest in you. I don't care if your neighbors are. I don't care how violent your neighbors are. You do those two things, I'm down. Let's
If
dance.
if one of those two things happen, their neighbors are probably going to get a lot more violent towards them.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh. But we'd love to hear what you guys think. I'm not sure about you guys. I've definitely had some experiences with EA, but I'd love to hear what you guys think about EA. If you see this as a positive thing, negative thing, what your thoughts are. But this has been Dollars, Lifestyle, and Charity, a finance podcast for gamers. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.